Hi, everyone. Hello, and welcome to today's webinar, Remote Drone Inspections, How to Do an Inspection with a Drone in the US while Standing in Europe. We're really excited to have you all here today. We're going to be featuring some technology that we've never featured on a webinar before. So I want to be upfront as we're getting started. The Unleash Live technology that allows for remote live streaming directly from the cockpit app on a Flyability drone isn't made for a webinar. In a webinar, there will be a little latency. What we're going to do to address that when we get to the actual demo is share a link that you can pull up so you have less latency on your own web browser to see the Elios 3 flying live, just like would happen if you were an inspector located in Europe, seeing a drone fly in the US, Denver, where our headquarters are. But we'll also have it up so that you can see the view of what the pilot, the remote pilot would actually be seeing, the inspector, from the behind the scenes for Unleash Live. So you'll be able to have both. It'll make more sense when we get there. I'll do a little more explaining. So will our speaker when we get there. But I just want to mention that here at the beginning. Really excited to have everyone on. So let's go ahead and dive in. So of course, today I'll be moderating. My name is Zach Dukowitz. I'm the Senior Communications Manager here at Flyability. Our two panelists, we have Kihan Garcia from Unleash Live. He's the Chief Pilot and UAV Officer at Unleash Live. He's the one who's in Europe, I should say also. And we have Eric English, our Drone Operations Manager for North America from Flyability. So Eric is in Denver, near our US headquarters. Derek has the Elios 3. He'll be flying it. Kihan will be telling him where to point the camera. So we're simulating the experience of having an inspector located remotely who's collecting visual data and making sure they're getting what they need. You'll also be able to see the LiDAR-enabled live 3D mapping while we're flying on the tablet. Just some housekeeping items here as we're getting started. So make sure to ask questions at any point. Don't feel like you need to wait. We are going to have a Q&A at the end of the webinar, and I'll show you an agenda in just a moment. But if you have a question that pops up, go ahead and throw it into your questions pane. It's in your dashboard. We'll try to answer questions as they come in, but in writing. But we'll also be curating questions for the Q&A at the end. If for some reason you don't get your question answered, we'll try to follow up with you with an answer. And also feel free to reach out to us. We'll have email addresses up on the very last slide of this presentation. I think everyone should have my email as well. I'm always there to connect people with the right person to answer a question, whether it's with Flyability or with Unleash Live. Another question we get all the time, so we want to answer it up front. Are we recording? We are. The recording will be sent to you after the webinar. It takes some time to process, so expect that email to come with the recording link within the next 24 hours after the webinar finishes. Feel free to share it with whomever you like. Oh, here's the agenda. So we're going through the introduction right now. This is brief, just about 5 minutes. Then I'll hand things over to Kihan Garcia, who will be going over how Unleash Live works, and then covering a case study so that we can make it more concrete how people are actually using this technology in the field. Then we'll do the live demonstration. That's going to be exciting. That also has some uncertainty attached to it. One thing I didn't mention a moment ago, the drone that the Elios 3 we were originally planning to use today for this demonstration, it got caught up in shipping. So it's in California. Obviously, Eric's in Denver. The drone that we wanted to use isn't where Eric is. So we're using a different Elios 3, but that meant over the last hour, we were setting up the live streaming on this new Elios 3. We were testing it. It seems to be working fine now, but you'll be going along with us on this adventure of technology as we do what we can and pivot and try to make everything work. We're confident. I think it will work out, but it's worth saying, this is the real world, and we had a shipping hiccup on top of this uncertainty I was talking about, where we're going to be live streaming on a webinar platform. So thank you in advance for bearing with us. And then at the end, of course, we'll have a 15-minute Q&A. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Kihan. Kihan, you can turn your camera on, but I'm going to just tell everyone about you for a moment. So Kihan Garcia is the Chief Pilot and UAV Officer at Unleash Live. He's a 10-year veteran in the drone space, also the remote piloted aircraft space if you're not in the US, RPA. He's a mechanical engineer by trade, and he has extensive experience integrating hardware and software components with correct workflows to get customers exactly what they need when it comes to data collection and delivery. So big picture, Kihan knows a lot about operating drones in commercial spaces. And obviously he's an expert in how Unleash Live enables this remote data collection so you can be wherever you like and still get what you need. So Kihan, I'm going to hand things off to you. I'm going to turn my camera off.
Thank you very much for that introduction, Eric. That was Zach. Sorry, that was great. Yeah, so my name is Kihan Garcia, and I feel very privileged to be able to be here and bring you and showcase what Unleash Live can do. As a bit of background, I've actually been using the Elios since they first started with the Elios 1, and for me, this is a bit of a passion project because I've spent a lot of time in the field with inspectors using the Elios with the subject matter expert looking over my shoulder on the tablet. This is not what we want to do. We live in an age where we can have connectivity, we can have people from all over the world working, and we really haven't cut that frontier where we can have complete remote inspections. So this is really the first step of what we're doing with Flyability. But through this presentation, we'll go through and really showcase how Unleash Live really strengthens that proposition of remote inspection capability and online collaboration. So if you don't mind, we'll go to the next slide, please. All right, so really what is Unleash Live about? We're an online data platform, we're cloud-based, and we're really about ingestion of visual data to provide analytics and fast insights. Too many times we see that data is collected from remote inspections or from areas, and then that's never really acted on, or there's a significant delay when that information has to come back to the headquarters, it's processed, and then might not be presented in front of the right person. So why do we do this? We build this platform to enable you to instantly stream and upload live data to be able to gain things like productivity gains, reductions in cost, and obviously one of the big ones when we talk about the Elios is increase in safety. So removing people from those hazardous situations. We also, when we look at other systems and other RPAs or drones, as we want to call them, is looking about repeatable data collection. So having that baseline of what we want to do. So having a catalog of the asset and then ensuring the collection around that is consistent and repeatable. If we don't have repeatable data, then it's really only a one inspection and there is less value associated with that. One thing that I would like to say as well is we do this on a range of networks. So at the moment, we're operating on cellular, we're operating on fiber, and we've also used this a lot on Starlink as well. So when we talk about enabling really remote inspections, satellite connectivity is something that that have really brought that forward and allowed us to do that. And a lot of our testing has been done with Starlink to be able to really collect data around those assets or critical assets that are located far away from established infrastructure. So what we, as Unleash Live, we're not just about drones as well. So we actually have the ability to stream from almost any device. As you can see on the right on that image, we bring in data from mobile phones, drones, CCTV cameras, action cameras, satellites, head-mounted displays, and then all of that data gets amalgamated in the cloud platform. That's then accessible from anything from a tablet, mobile phone, desktop computer, and then we output that into something. So it could be alerts, dashboards, APIs, and as you're going to see today, it's our public watch page. So the public watch page is something that as an Elios operator, you can actually share with someone externally through a URL, directly in an email or an SMS that they can open up directly and view that live feed. So I think this gives a little bit of a picture, and if you want to know a little bit more about the features and what we do on the platform, we're going to talk about that. But please feel free to reach out to Zach or to myself to answer any questions that we have that weren't addressed in the last 15 minutes. So I'll go to the next slide, please, there, Zach. I might have jumped the gun a little bit with that photo. Apologies for that, but here we can see it larger. So it's really not just about inspections, right? And that's something that I really want to highlight. It's about what do we do with the data off the back of it? How can we bring in different forms of data instead of just being one visual inspection on an SD card? But how do we complement that when we can do that repeatedly with different devices, with different people, and assuring that we get the highest quality data? And that's one of the biggest things that we found through our remote collaboration is that the expert can actually advise a person on the ground to go to a specific location, ensure that they're collecting the right data, and make sure that there isn't a waste of time or safety associated with that inspection activity. We'll jump into the next one, please. So visual inspections are complicated. I think everyone that's using an Elios understands the complexity and the reasons why we're doing this, right? We see that there's significant value in being able to collect data from these areas that was previously extremely difficult, time consuming, or high cost. So the things that we can do with this is really digitizing our inspections, right? And not just making it digital, but making sure that the data capture is consistent and repeatable, making sure that the people that need to have access to that when they need it, on demand, wherever they are. And that's really a requirement for the world that we live in now. So that catalog, or as we like to call it, is like an asset passport, allows you to have all that data from that asset along with time series information to be able to make the best informed decision you can. As I touched on before, when a single operator is going out to site, and some of you operators might have found this as well, you might be asked to go and complete an inspection of a bridge. In this situation, you've obviously done a standard bridge inspection, but they failed to outline that the requirement was to specifically inspect the bottom bolts at a specific angle. So collecting data that was not completely what was required because you're in isolation doing this and not connected with the person that needs the information. One of the other benefits that we see with this online collaboration is if you need to gain additional information of a specific fault or defect that was identified in real time, you can provide the guidance to them while they're on the ground. So that significantly reduces the cost and gives you much better situational awareness of the asset and its current condition. Lastly, well, obviously with all RPA, and it's about removing or providing access to those hard to reach places, as well as the dangerous places. So I'm going to say I'm extremely impressed with the capability of the Elios 3 and what has been done to bring it to that next generation of hardware. And I think when we combine it with the software and allowing people like myself who are currently in Europe and the drones in the US, and we have people all over the world who are going to watch this inspection, it's really bringing that inspection capability to the new age. We can jump into the next slide, please. So I know this might be common to a lot of you, but some people might be jumping into this, but what are the benefits of our drone inspections, right? They can be a lot safer. We don't have to go into confined spaces. It means that approvals for jobs don't take 6 months. We might not need hot work permits or confined entry. These things are things that we look at, or when they do a risk assessment for a specific activity that allow that job to go forward, or as an individual operator, allows you to charge more for that because you're able to deliver this at a shorter time frame or at a higher quality. Obviously, being able to collect data much faster, and then being able to do it at a lower cost. So making sure that the hardware that we have, the software that we have, and the backend to manage and distribute that information is accessible, affordable, and it's going to provide the right value for you. When we look at inspections and why we do this, it's really about ensuring the best condition of that asset, right? When we look at these assets, a downtime on some heavy machinery could cost you upwards of $10,000, $20,000. We need to ensure that this hardware and equipment is consistently operating at the optimal threshold to ensure the productivity is. One breakage in a workflow or a production line can halt a facility for many months. And this is why allowing repeatable inspections and having that catalog of how deteriorations are progressing is very important. We can jump into the next one, please. So why the live stream, right? And as I mentioned, this for me was something that I felt a massive need for when I first started using the Elios system. I was on site up in Northern Australia doing inspections of stacks, and I would have someone sitting directly over my shoulder. Usually when we're operating, we talk about things such as sterile cockpits. So having the pilot who's responsible for operating that system being in isolation during any critical parts of that operation. When we're operating inside a vessel or inspecting something with an Elios, or really to affect any other aircraft, the entire time really should be a sterile cockpit. That means not having someone breathing down your neck, seeing what's happening, right? So the live stream allowed us to still have the benefits of having that expert reviewing the footage, or I'll add to that, multiple experts viewing and communicating with the pilot without them feeling like they're pressured to do something or pressured to act in a way that might not be the best to complete the inspection effectively. With our live stream, it's not just one video feed. We're currently using this with command centers where we can stream multiple video feeds simultaneously to the same page or to the same public URL so that multiple data sources can be combined to make an assessment. This can be extremely important when we're doing things such as search and rescue, where we might have helicopter mounted cameras, we might have body worn cameras, and then we could have an Elios internally operating inside the building. So really combining all this information into one location where that person can then or can make the decision on the best way to move forward to efficiently complete the task. It's as part of our setup, it's extremely easy. So we have an application that allows us to do kind of additional control when we do RPAs, two-way audio, this kind of thing. But we can also stream simply from a mobile device. You can go to our URL, you can hit stream, and then that'll send it directly back into your secure cloud account. So it's really, the setup is extremely easy. And that means that we can get going and really respond to incidents and provide data of an incident extremely quickly to be able to make the best decision. On to the next one, please. Here I wanted to talk a little bit about how we're using this in Australia. So we're currently doing a large piece of work with a power company called Endeavour Energy. This has really been a good showcase of the capabilities for our AutoFly application. So AutoFly not only allows live streaming and collaboration with two-way audio, but it also allows us to remote control the drone from anywhere in the world. Currently, we fully support DJI models, and right now we're working with Flyability to bring this to their platform. This means that an operator on the ground can put the system down, start it, take it up, fly, and then the remote operator who's in Europe is actually able to control the camera, take images, set point of interest, these kind of things. So with Endeavour Energy, they're actually using a functionality called Smart Skills that allow them to inspect power poles repeatedly and consistently utilizing a simple button press. This meant that the inspections went from somewhere in 7 to 8 minutes per power pole to 32 seconds per power pole. It also means that the operator isn't the one making the decision on the position of where the drone needs to be, where the camera needs to be, and when to take the photos. All of this is pre-planned, placed in a catalog, and when they look to execute a mission on that specific asset, they're simply able to position the drone, hit go, and the aircraft and the software in AutoFly will take care of the rest. So one of the other things we're doing with them is bringing all of this live back through Optus 5G. So that means that the high-res imagery that is collected through the inspection is actually being streamed back directly from the drone back into the platform for review, and then for review and AI analysis, really speeding up that time to action, meaning that when critical faults are identified, the geoposition, imagery, attributes, and then off the back of that, a work order can be created almost instantly. On to the next one, please. So I wanted to talk a little bit about where this goes and what we can do, right? So the future for Elios and the work that we're completing now is really about furthering the remote inspection capability, something that we've already done with DJI. We want to really bring that operator or the remote operator closer to the action. Today, you'll see kind of the layout of the remote pilot cockpit, where you'll see some of this functionality already. Today, we won't be demoing it, But in the coming months, I'm sure that we'll be able to showcase this to you and even let you try it out. So this is when I mentioned that the remote inspector would be able to actually control the gimbal, take images, set POIs. On top of that is live streaming of LiDAR data and positional information. So being able to see exactly where all the imagery was set and collected, seeing where the aircraft is positioned relative to its environment. We can currently see that from the tablet, but when we talk about streaming a live point cloud, this is actually a lot more powerful than just seeing the visual representation of the point cloud on the pilot screen while he's operating. Using headsets to be able to provide clearer communication and also audio with the pilot, as well as bringing our smart skill functionality for specific indoor asset inspections or GPS denied asset inspections for 3D modeling and autonomous flights, really highlighting the benefit that consistent, repeatable data is a key to making this successful. One thing that I would like to say is, and this goes for everything, is collect data in a way that your future self would be happy with. Too often we see that people will just take shots willy-nilly. They aren't comparable. They aren't creating a catalog. They aren't managed properly. So collect data, store it, manage it in a way that your future self will thank you for. Thank you. To the next one.
So we are actually up to the live demo now. Eric, so I guess, are we going to pull up Eric's camera? Or are we just going to share the live stream from you, Keon?
We can pull up Eric's camera, I think.
Okay, great. I want to introduce Eric English real quick. He is well deserving of it. So Eric is our drone operations manager for North America here at Flyability. Not only is he a drone whiz, and he has a lot of experience flying drones and training people on how to fly drones, he's also an excellent photographer and videographer, and he's been taking photos and shooting videos since he was really young. He's Part 107 certified, and he's won 3 Emmys, which is really impressive. One of those Emmys is for aerial photography, but he's also been an embedded journalist in a lot of different scenarios. Eric oversees our drone training efforts in North America. He also uses his experience in videography and photography to create marketing materials that highlight our drones in action. And it's been really exciting to see some of the stuff he's come up with the Elios 3. And I actually was lucky enough to be in Iceland with Eric in May, excuse me, right before we launched the Elios 3. And there's going to be a lot of really exciting videos coming out soon, including a Vice documentary featuring footage from that trip. So look forward to that. But all that being said, we're going to go to the live demo. I'm going to share a link in the chat that will allow you to pull up the live stream that will have less latency. At the same time, Kehan is going to share his screen. And actually, Kehan, I'm going to make you presenter now so that you can do that. And Keon, actually, if you can join us again with your camera and audio, then we'll go to the Q&A, and we can
Yep. Do you have
start
my
asking.
audio?
I do. Perfect. So I got a question which I'm sure occurs to people. I think you actually answered this question sort of indirectly in your presentation, but it's a question that's going to come up when you're talking about remotely operating a robotic system. What do you do if you lose your drone when you're piloting remotely? And I think the answer is there's always someone there. It's that you pilot remotely because you have a subject matter expert who's remote, but you never just have a fully remote operation. But I'll hand it to you, please.
Yeah, exactly. So as done, we'll still have a pilot or a spotter there on the ground. The controller is still there. And at any point, they're able to take over control and bring the aircraft back. So really, it's not about the person in Europe or anywhere else doing the full inspection. They're not putting the drone out there. We don't yet have a box for flyability, but it's about allowing them to make sure that the data we're collecting is what they want, right? And making any minor adjustments or collecting the information at the points that are crucial for the inspection.
Perfect. And that's what I figured. Yeah, thank you very much. So question, another question from the audience. Do both parties require a Wi-Fi connection, or can this be done using 3G, 5G? If you could speak to connectivity in general, I think that would be of interest.
Yeah, so usually we require about 3 Mbps up for the video stream. That's to provide the high resolution video feed. Obviously at the moment we're having some slight connection issues, so we'll troubleshoot that before to find out what the cause was, but usually we require about 3 Mbps up, and then that'll stream the high quality content into the server. Then you'll need a similar amount to be able to bring that back down to your mobile device or to whoever mobile device is accessing that. There's an unlimited amount of people, well, unlimited, that can actually view that stream once it's being pushed to the server. They will just require their own data connection.
Got it, perfect, thank you. We've had a question about encryption from several people who are, I think the real point is inspections are often done in highly sensitive areas, maybe a nuclear power plant. So can you speak to data privacy and encryption and all those kinds of concerns with this kind of feature?
So all the streams are generated, so they all have a very specific tokenized key that allows that to be accessed and authenticated on the server. And one of the things, so we've gone through a lot of security stuff. We do a lot of work with government agencies, both in Australia and the US. And I'd be happy to share kind of a bit more specific information on that, or you can find it on our site as well, with regards to how sensitive information is managed and protected in the account and streaming to the account.
Got it, thank you very much. Oh, we had a question. Someone was just wondering if Unleashed Live is global or if you only serve certain areas of the world.
We're global, so we work a lot in Europe, Australia, the US, Canada. They're kind of our main countries that we operate in. Although we've done a lot of operations both in the Middle East and stuff like that. So more like in oil refineries and production. But yeah, so there isn't really a restriction, and that's one of the benefits of being a SaaS platform with a very low uptake time and barrier to entry.
Excellent, and it's worth saying that Flyability is also global. You can find our drones anywhere in the world. So if you are looking for Flyability drones, contact us and we'll put you in touch with someone in your area that can help you. We have another question, a question from Antonio about, you mentioned Starlink, and Antonio was wondering, could you engage satellite comms, / Starlink as an on-demand backup feature? Is that something that you guys are exploring or that's already available in certain areas?
Sorry, do you mean in case your infrastructure goes, like your standard infrastructure goes down?
Yeah, well, I think that's the idea. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
sorry.
So effectively I personally have Starlink at home as well, and we operate it on different sites too. And it was because it's effectively a backup server, but it's now a backup system, but now it's actually much better than the infrastructure that we have at home. So I use it primarily as my main form of communication. Yeah, it's extremely fast, reliable, very good ping, and really for the things that we can do with it and where you can deploy it, it brings a lot of value to the remote inspection capability.
Got it. Thank you. We're almost out of questions. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess if you could speak to obviously connectivity is sort of the question of the day, and forgive me if you've already covered this, but it seems like just addressing what do you do when your Wi-Fi is bad on a given day? Is there a backup plan? It sounds like Starlink might be a backup plan in some areas, but if you could talk through that just a little more, Keith, I think that would be of interest.
Yeah, so there's a couple of different ways that connectivity can be enhanced, and these are things that we're working through when we're actually doing deployments with customers. So obviously we have like laid down standard infrastructure, which we see through like cable or fiber, but then things such as like multi-bonding SIM card for mobile networks. So if you have a provider that you might have decent signal at one point and not another, we're able to use or there's devices that are able to use multiple SIM cards to transmit the information across both of those networks simultaneously. So that's also another backup that can be used when there's decent cell coverage from a range of providers, and maybe you don't have access to Starlink that quickly.
Got it. Thank you very much, Kihan. We have a question about, there might be more of a question for us, but I think you probably know the answer given your deep expertise with drones. Does using Unleash Live impact the battery life of the drone? Does it shorten the flight time?
Not at all. It does not affect it at all. All the software is run on the GCS. So it does not affect any of the operation of the drone. The entire operation of the drone is exactly the same, other than selecting to stream video before you start the inspection.
Perfect, thank you. We have a sort of inspection focused question from an audience member who's asking, assuming the connectivity is good, what about the quality of the video and the resolution? Can you see a 2mm crack? I assume the streaming, you're getting exactly what you would get on your tablet, right? You don't lose any quality just because you're streaming. Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Whatever you're seeing on your tablet is what you're going to be seeing. And as I mentioned, for the future integrations that we'll be looking to do or doing already with Flyability and things that we're already doing with other drone platforms, is streaming the high-res imagery back from the drone through the radio link and up into the cloud account. Meaning that now you're not viewing just the stream, but you're viewing the high-resolution raw imagery direct from the sensor. So then the inspector can effectively conduct the inspection on that imagery as the drone's still in the air.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, thank you. We have a question from John who is asking if there's a tethering capability for video when there's no network connection.
So as I mentioned, our application runs on the tablet, so you can interface with that with an Ethernet USB or similar, right? We're not running directly from the drone, so I'm not sure if the question referred to tethering the drone. I don't believe so. But yeah, your tablet or mobile device can be tethered directly into an Ethernet or fiber, whatever it may be.
Got it. Thank you. Eddie is asking, can it be used outside or is it strictly for inside? And I think that's more for the drone than the live streaming. Obviously, the live streaming can be done in wherever, assuming that you can get internet connection. Our drone is made primarily for flying in confined spaces. That's why it has the cage and it has collision tolerance features. But there's lots of other drones being used for inspections. The Matrice 300 from DJI comes to mind. There are plenty of others, and Kihan, you know a lot more than I do about that. But yeah, that's the answer. The Elios 3 is made for flying inside, but there's other drones made for flying outside, and Unleash Live can be used on any of those drones. Well, I believe you guys can be used on any of those drones. Is that true?
Yes, pretty much. We support pretty much every DJI drone now at the moment. We do support for some RG Pilot and PX4 custom built drones. We've worked previously with Skydios. There's a range of different systems that we support. And that's really one of the benefits of our platform is that we're camera and system agnostic. The level of integration and what you have might depend on what hardware you're using, but the base functionality of streaming should work with almost every system.
Okay, excellent. I think that's gonna do it for questions. We don't have any more. I really appreciate everyone's time. I do want to say Unleash Live is offering a month free right now to anyone who attended or signed up for this webinar. If you want to try it out, Keon, do you have anything more to say about that? I don't want to put you on the spot because I didn't ask you in advance if you wanted to speak about it, but if you do have anything to add, please do.
No, I think really, like, obviously with the slight issues we had today with connectivity, the best way is really to show this with your system on how it would go down. So what we want to offer you guys, and what will go out with the recording of the webinar, is a token that can be used to access a month free of Unleash live streaming with the AutoFly application, so that actually you can try this on your own system.
Yeah, and I should say we did a lot of testing in advance, and it worked brilliantly. Whenever we were doing the testing, I think it's you know, this combination of having to set up a new Elios 3 in, you know, at the last minute, obviously uncertain Wi-Fi at the location. There's just a lot of things working against us today. Trying to do it through a webinar platform, which we did test in advance, but you know, we just appreciate everyone's patience. So, like Keon said, we encourage you to try this on your own, whether it's with a Flyability drone or another drone that you have that, you know, you want to see if you can use. Obviously, it's a really cool, powerful platform. So you don't have to only use it with one of our drones. I think that's going to do it for today. Keon, we're really appreciative. Thank you for taking the time. I know, so Keon lives in Australia, but he's actually in Spain right now. He's doing work for Unleash Live. Thus the, you know, being in Europe while live streaming from Denver in the title of the webinar. So thanks again, Keon, for taking the time. We hope to do more of these with you. Thanks everyone for joining, and that's going to be it for today.
Thank you.